the problem of United States of America is in the fact that there is enormous difference between the classes, between the castes of the population. Either you have the highest of the ranking of the population, which would be on the level of real aristocracy. Here I'm talking about what is not only privileged but also was privileged to be developed in the times and to bring presence to the highest, obviously making the presence in the highest of the diplomatic circles. And on the other side you have the lowest of the levels, which is hardly almost uneducated people, and not just uneducated but very much neglected and profoundly prime as well. It is also there is free access to variety of prime cultures, where aristocracy equally never managed to basically deal with the protocol prime society. In other words, America represents jungle in the small because it doesn't employ any kind of ideological function. It is a word that they ended up to underestimate, to hold to lower esteem, which is rather peculiar. But because most of the people is really raw and rough, religion certainly managed to make its way, although it doesn't look like that. In substance, religion does have very strong presence in American society, brainwashing population generally, and preventing them, and which then end up to think that ideology is everything that is to do with devil, and religion is the God, and whatever religion say is a God language, and everything else is a devil language. Now, low educated population, it's easier to manipulate. That is also territory that the cultures are detached from their roots and from ability to really know more about what really is going on some kind of upper scales, as it is Europe exporting religion as well, technically. So they're just buying ready-made product, would not have, for example, first-hand opportunity to really know what stands behind the religion. It is not same as in Europe, where the matrices of these powers, people would have the closest of the circles would know what's going on, would be much more in control of the entire either propaganda or either movement, either the factory of religion. Well, in America, which is much more detached territory, they're buying the final product. Either it is drug, either it is religion, either it is whatever. They are the market for buying a variety of products, including what kind of mind-related products, what kind of ideas are going to be sold. They're buying the ideas, they're not producing them. They are consumers, they're buyers, including of the ideas. That is going to make one good percentage of population being completely detached from actual reality of what really is happening on the planet. The protocol science is not going to be that much in promise there. Become much more second-hand territories, and increasingly aristocracy and diplomacy, they are equally increasingly become detached, because in substance aristocracy is also associated to certain matrix, and if that matrix doesn't function on its own energetic rules, principles, then it's going to lose the aristocracy itself. Aristocracy is going to lose the relevance and significance. And that is what's happening in America. In America, aristocracy is becoming weaker and weaker. And because of that, which was Democratic Party, and because of that, America somehow fall in hands of much more of a prime societies of rural America, which are highly neglected and highly not taken care of. And that would in process bring in package everything that this kind of population is associated with. And because it is, you find their tribunal society rather. Of course, criminal is going to get increased. Criminal. And one good part of the planet is basically, prevail on that side of the story. Today we have just overnight, thankfully to fakely crafted socialism wrongly crafted socialism in last century. We have returned, the planet has returned backwards with the speed of the light. With the speed of the light. People should people should not be thinking about the previous historic structures as a matter of random selection. We are talking about millenniums of time when certain percentage of population has been chosen to be educated and become carriers of civilization itself. Let aside how far historically they have been discriminating the people as actual monarchical order. The fact is that when you go in America, it becomes filtrated by more of standard values of development and become much more civil society. Notice that as well. That in order that you get civil society, a pathway is actually the previous institutional orders, previous hierarchies, previous monarchies. They are the ones that are going to deliver the chunk of what end up to be civilization and civil population on the territories. Everything else is being not enough attended. And last century was certainly with free education trying to catch up there. But as you can see, a few generations versus millenniums is not going to be easily measurable. Few generations is less than 100, let's give it 100 years, versus millenniums of years of something being crafted and created on an upper ranking. You can't compare that. It's simply uncomparable. So we as a civilization will continue heavily to rely on upper circles when really can be recognized that these are upper circles. Genetic craft is not just the silkiness of the look. It is the millenniums of years embodied in that historic development of such individuals. That is how critically important is what kind of people are going to bring the power in America on national, especially on international ground, because also that's going to affect international movements and it's going to cause chain effect over territories. We are talking, keep that in mind, we are talking millenniums of evolution versus few generations of free education in rural America. Secondly, I have to notice that the Nazism in Macedonia has been created traditionally by the Singidunum of Belgrade, which means rural America. That Nazism that Macedonians have rediscovered as they are born with it is actually language of rural America. That is nothing of advanced protocol. That is protocol of Ku Klux Klan. Rural America. Macedonia, Socialism Republic of Macedonia je product of Yugoslavia. And Yugoslavia in substance is built by White House of America, which is masonry, and that is rural, wild, rural, raw America. So Yugoslavia in substance, it is built by that kind of energies. And that is why Nazism that's happening there, when it's happening, it is happening as a raw Republican ignited power. I'm just making it clear so people there do not end up thinking that they are promoting some kind of higher vibes. No, they're promoting rural, raw, hardly educated, Ku Klux driven politics. That's Nazism. That is what drives Nazism. This kind of people. So it is wrong to think of Nazism as a elite protocol, as a protocol of the best, creme de la creme, things like that. No. You find it because these people usually become much more democratic, much more humanitarian, they're much more fighting, looking for the best answers, for the best solutions. That is where science is happening. And science is not Nazistic and fascistic. It is too much scientific to be restricting the mind. Science doesn't restrict the mind. Only restricted mind restricts. Because it exists on the basis of restriction. It's predatory protocol. It is predatory. It is closer to creatures. Look, in the forest, among the creatures, you don't have democracy and you don't have tolerance. That's Nazism. Lower raw energy. So when you go in Macedonia, you have impression that is something like elite situation. That's like supremacy. And that is wrong understanding of Nazism. No, I mean, that's obvious here. I have not read book on this. I'm just monitoring and observing. Notice now what energies are dictating Nazism. And then you go in Macedonia and get translated like supremacy, like elite platform. But that is, excuse me, but you don't have here the structure of elite. You don't have the substance of elite. You don't have the weight of elite. You are in substance gang protocol. And the best you can do is to get the leather jackets. And we all know where that goes. Street gang system. It is raw in its substance. And I want you to notice that. Notice the actual source of birthplace of Nazism and the actual raw energy of it, the narrow-mindedness of it, and the stupidity of it, which were all the main reason why it failed in Germany last century, and it burned with itself that much of a Central European elite society that were thinking that it is in question supremacy-related elite order. But you can see what's driving it by the fact that it is being driven by the most of the instinct-related prime value systems. It's very much indicative that by the value system that delivers, it is indicative that we talk about lower level of society, of the circles in the society that are actually inspiring, motivating, and delivering Nazism as a closer to predatory protocol, closer to criminal, closer to gang, that is gang-related protocol. Prime, obscure, narrow-minded, uneducated, stupid. Basically criminal-driven in substance. Criminal-driven in substance. I'm pointing out this over and over because when it happens in Macedonia and in Europe in general, it has been understood as a supreme, as a upper, as a higher, as a matter of higher valuation. But in substance, it brings lower substance. My Nazism-driven friend from university was not better student than me. She was in the shadow. She would have problem to sit on the table and accomplish the study. She was lacking discipline. She was not better student. But she went to be supported on the higher scale by that Nazi society. She got more of a support, and she went up supported by the gang protocol and by the lower and cheaper value system. She overran me, not because she is better, but because she is more supported by the cheap, by the predatory, physical driven, raw value system of a pure predatory. That is Nazism. Macedonia. That is Nazism. You cannot drive it as an upper and as a better, because it is not upper and it is not better. You have to understand that. In America, these are not forces that make America great and the best. These are the forces that make America to be one of the most prime societies on the planet. And these are the forces that are driving America down, and they will always drive America down because they don't have substance to bring America on any higher place. No, to insist on the Republican side and then to eliminate real Republicans and to bring it on the rawest of the levels is in the promise of nothing else but what rawest of the levels can only promise. International gang criminal. Which very much find itself associated with any other kind of brainwashing manipulations that were not driving on ground of real quality. That is why it is easy to connect to fake monarchy. It's easy to connect to fake religion. Although I think the religion is actually struggling here. Because you can't call a religion exactly fake. These people there are actually educated. Although completely victimized. At least you can say they're not educated. But the prime society, as they're saying it in the most of the primest rural of America, is today the headquarters of Nazism. I just want to explain that to you sitting in Germany or sitting in Macedonia, that you know what is your birthplace. The rawest of the circles of non-educated, prime, totally predatory prime, rural America. That is your center. Not aristocracy, not even religion-related intelligence. None of the, in the past, well, we have to admit, the religion was locked in either in aristocracy or in religion. That is where real intelligence was locked. And that is how real intelligence was happening. It would have been in such circles, because only in such circles you would have educated people. Of course, now with as the intelligence, as the actual reasoning and actual intelligence becomes much more independent as I deliver with my work, will happen closer departure for everything that is withholding intelligence as a prisoner, and that is including the orders itself, as it is monarchy and as it is religion, which in my work I properly explain how that happens. That you at some point find yourself as a bird in a cage, and then you end up looking for a house, which is still you need that shield of protectionism, because the wilderness around you, it's too big to confront it. And in order, we need to look after intelligence, because that is on what humanity relies. We need to continue to bring shield around our intelligent people, because everyone else, we all depend on them. The rest of the society depend on intelligent people. Intelligent people are valuable, and you can't dispose them, you can't treat them as disposable, and you can't talk of them as disposable, because human is not an animal. And you can't discuss human as an animal, and you can't talk about human as an animal. Humans are different. And that will need to be noticed, and that will need to be appreciated, or you as a society are going in wrong direction. That is my message to Macedonia, and that is my message to Europe in general. You have to pay very close attention what is the impact of having super tribunal society of today, rural America and rural Ireland, to have it in the center of Europe as it is Belgrade, Singidunum. The effect was catastrophic for dismantling entire European aristocracy and entire European intelligence, and continue to be disastrous, continue to spread its disastrous effects in Palestine and in Israel, all over Middle East, continue to destroy the aristocracy of these territories, continue to dry down territories. They have completely destroyed, and Europe and Middle East have completely cleaned it from its actual aristocratic, the only headquarters, the only layers where you would to find actual civilizational development as a carriers of actual civilizational development. They're simply drying them out. They're just completely drying them out. They're basically drying out the regions, the territories from civilizational development. As a result, you're being left on the levels of raw animal force. These are important aspects. These are critically important answers. My fear does have a reasonable ground. My dedication to explain to you what's going on does withhold serious concern about where we are moving as a world. I don't have ambition to benefit of what I do here, and I am not going to insist on it. I don't do this because I need money. I have my profession, which is accounting, whatever I have spending time. I'm traditionally good with numbers. I can swim there. I have my profession. There is a way how I can make my money. I have not been, for a good part of my life, I have not been aware even that I have anything to do with aristocratic circles. I was not aware of it, and that was certainly not my intention how to make money. I don't do this for money. My ambition is not about taking position in the society so I can have access to money. No, but I certainly have said I wouldn't accept to be played as Mother Teresa, because I don't see myself realized as a Mother Teresa, as an individual, as a citizen, as a human being, not as a status-driven platform. In general, I mean, I want you to notice that Europe and that Nazism, such forces, have destroyed Europe in very short period of time. Such low energy working class movement that delivered socialism have destroyed one good percentage of Europe and Asia. We are in 1 century only. It has been managed to be destroyed. Good part of what we as a civilization have been creating in all of the previous centuries. I just want to warn you, what is the price that we all pay, why you are excitingly returning to your roots in order to erase, with intention I can notice, to erase everything else. And I'm going to say again and again and again, it is wrong direction and wrong path in which we are moving our civilization. It is simply wrong approach and wrong way. Can you hear me here, rural America? You cannot be the leader. You cannot be first having your wish list. You cannot have wish list over me, darling. I have wish list over you. That is how this works. That is how this works, rural America. I have wish list here, not you. And that is going to make enormous difference of the final outcome of where we are going as a planet. So we go in Macedonia and you are going to play a supreme race out of that, nothing happening in between. Can you explain to me, rural junkie America, on what ground you're playing supreme race in Macedonia? Rural America, you have your question for today. And on what ground you're playing supreme race somewhere in Germany? Can you, rural, uneducated, pram, wild, raw America, explain to me on what ground you declare supremacy in Europe? Rural America, you have your question for today. And you, Europeans, you, the sheep, the goat, and the rest. It's a wakey time. You don't wakey. You will end up to continue to be the sheep, the goat, and the rest. Accordingly to the region, entire region, therefore inclusive the aristocratic bloodlines, because, well, they're certainly entitled to that region and the history of that region, more, I would argue, than anyone else. I have declared active monarchical stamp with my bloodline. And I want you to understand today again that these are the ones that have been actually real carriers of civilizational development of the territories. What else is present on the territories would be prime pagan society. Most of it for quite some time, because of the creation of socialism, Republic of Macedonia and socialism countries, they are basically being cleaned out totally of the previous civilizational remains, should I call it, and replaced with completely different structure of the population. These things cannot change overnight. I mean, you can say, okay, I'm not going to be called socialism anymore, but in substance, you're still being left with the same structure of the population, which is profoundly much more raw and driven by some kind of working class value systems. Like disease is still there. And their sense of what is elite has become reincarnated in completely different ways. Their sense of elite is very much it's very short-legged, and it's very much associated with what was elite in socialism. And what was elite in socialism is working class. And now you overnight bring them into the previous. Excuse me, that previous is dead. It's killed. The previous become you, and that's the wrong answer. Because you're not the previous. You're not the carrier of the previous. You're not the substance of the previous. You're not the actual elite. Remember? You're pretending. You're the fake. Socialism created fake elite out of working class. That's not real elite. You end up believing, you end up thinking, but you end up thinking of yourself as elite protocol. And then when someone gives you the Vegeta recipe of a magic called Nazism, you end up with the gods. It's you and the sky directly. And like we don't need anything else. Literally you went into Buddhism. Because why? What else on earth we need? Because what else on earth we need? Everything else, we have been wasting time on this earth. Let's go directly to gods. From working class to gods. Directly launching. Directly with the rocket. With the rocket system directly. Or with helicopter can work well as well. To explain to us how the mind works. To the rest of us that eventually may get confused. But nice to explain how the mind works. You just buy yourself a helicopter. Macedonia, I want you to elaborate on your positions immediately. Macedonia, elaborate on your supreme defined positions immediately. Get a notebook and elaborate immediately. Macedonia, from working class into the gods, directly. Is that so, Macedonia? Macedonia, elaborate on Nazism immediately. Get a notebook and elaborate. Macedonia, I know you're a bad student. You still have to do it because flying with gods cost more than you were thinking. You're going to go away with. Macedonia, notebook, do the homework. I want this answered. And here, in that respect, we have to notice, therefore, the consequences of former socialism countries, which cannot stop being socialism simply because they have slaughtered everything else on their territories. And because of that, they cannot call themselves territories with a history because they killed their history. They cleaned their history. Their history is hiding now. Chinese history is hiding in little Taiwan. That is how their history shrink. That is where their history went, and that is the size of their history. And same to Russia. The history of Russia remained in West Europe. Russia of raw, prime, working class and nothing else to survive. Russia that killed its aristocracy, chopped them in the forest. That Russia does not have a right to call on any historic heritage. That does not have right to call on Dostoevsky, does not have right to call on Pushkin, does not have right to call on Gogol, does not have right to call on any of these glorious writers because they just killed them. They just killed them and they continue to kill them as we speak. That Russia does not have right to call itself to call upon its history. That Russia doesn't have right to call itself upon that history. That history of Russia has been lost. And these territories will need to accept that. Now they can go and kiss the rural America in face of Donald Trump, who is a puppet to rural America because he is New Yorker. He is nothing of rural, but he is being trapped by the rurals in the way how my cousin is being trapped by the same socialism. And we'll need today to play who knows what kind of puppetry as together with my entire bloodline to play puppetry to your primitivism, to your prime society. No, you're going to call upon the historic heritage. Or that is in the same way how working class tried to play elite after a couple of decades living in socialism. They lived there for a couple of decades and they become the new elites. Now that is how they are trying to recover their history in China and Russia, but it is not going to happen so magically, darlings, because you killed it. Because you killed it all. Because you killed it all. And you dominate with your prime energies. Now your prime energies is going to tell us what's elite. Now you are going to tell me what is elite. Now you are going to tell me what is the latest civilizational answer. We both know you are the liar. We both know socialism. You are dry, criminal liar. We both know that you are dry, criminal, creaturey liar. But I am not one-sided coin. And I play my colors properly. We all have emerged from the previous, but then also we have been ranking in all of the history to the upper. And you have to prove it. You have to prove it with the life you live and choices you make. And choices you make. And choices you make. And choices you make. You have decided to walk over me. And that is where you fail today. That is where is your mistake, darling. Darling, you made a mistake. And we are not going to leave now your mistake. Now park yourself aside. For the good of that country and entire Europe. Just park yourself aside, please. Can you hear me, you tamo? Kožni džakete. Ajde, parkiraj se na strana and shut them up. Can you hear me well here? Shut up. Razlaz. Razlaz. Helikopter ne je povisoka consciousness. Helikopter. Sve koja budala može da vozi helikopter today. Ajde, parkiraj se na strana i zatvori usta. Ne da imate nešto da kažete. Samo vi znate koliko težite. Samo vi si znate mnogo bavo koliko težite. Sotoliće za mene istorijata na cela ta teritorija tamo. Sotoliće za mene istorijata na toj region. To je birthplace na aristokracija. To je birthplace na ono što ponatamo se razvija kao monarhija. Ti ne možeš da go prepoznaješ to. Forget about it. Ti ne igraš istorija tamo. Onda što se džaftafte i baftafte. Što se džaftate, baftate i što se frlate, rasfrluvate ovdje. Ti istorija tamo ne vadiš, ti istorija tamo ne igraš. Znači ja nemaš težinata. Od kada tolkava džava digate? Od kada tolkava prašina ste se razdigale? Da go zapečatite, da zapečatite kozatavo Makedonija. Da ne pobegne na drugo mesto. Accordingly, I wanted to say to Russia and China, living socialism is not just one sentence. Word. Few words in one sentence. That is not what living socialism is. Living socialism is not easy and never will be easy. In other words, I doubt that you will ever return to the previous. You have decided to kill it, and you have to live now with your decisions. You will be obviously punished for it. I wouldn't say punished. No one need to punish you because you punished yourself. You punished yourself with your stupidity. But you cannot walk today to this world and to say that working class now has become elite and they are going to walk our history because, well, they are liars. Working class doesn't walk a history of millenniums old history of the territories. Working class doesn't work millenniums old history. And you do not have right to introduce it as such because you would be liars. Because you are liars. You are not walking that history because that history is not yours. You're not the one that have made it. So why on earth you're hiding behind it? You're complete fabrication. You are fake. And don't ask for higher place on this planet because you have destroyed it. You have destroyed your higher place on this planet. As long as you have your monarchy locked in Taiwan, and as long as you have that monarchy in England killed, and you would assume that they would not be the only one killed, but with them it will be killed the entire aristocratic order, all of the artists and all of the intelligence, all killed in 7 generations backwards. Russians, I'm going to remind you, sweeties, 7 generations backwards. Russians, you're not going to get overnight out of it. You're not going to stand out there and to say, we have history like that and that and that, because you are liars. You do not have that history anymore. And that is the truth and only truth. No, this is last time that you're going to go in Macedonia and to tell me how to play my history. Are we clear on that? You're not going to tell me what is history in that little land of desperation and confusion and handicap of its own nature, of confusion. Last thing they need is someone to tell them from the above, which above is not as stopped to be, what to do next. Can you hear me well here? You're not in position to say to territories what to do next. You're too raw for it. Too raw for it! So just wanted to say, to be acknowledged, that the territories of size of China and Russia are raw, profoundly raw, because they have killed their history in last century. My verdict for today. They have killed it in couple of in 7 generations backwards. They have been killing them in 7 generations backwards. Rural America in 7 generations backwards. Rural America. And rural America, be notified once forever. I'm not your darling, and I'm not going to deliver your second wish. You awakened wrong house. Or actually, should I say the real one? Just in a full size. You know that I'm monarchical stamp. On what ground you continue to think that you're the one walking next to me? From where we got that? From where we got that? How someone as myself can walk next to someone as yourself? Can you explain how is that possible? And what exactly is you are saying? I mean, what's the message here? That our development as a civilizations doesn't matter. Is that what you're saying? Well, all of a sudden I'm in your pocket. Is that so? To whom on earth you're talking? Do you know to whom on earth you're talking? Well, excuse me, guys. But this is all that matters. Do you know to whom on earth you're talking? Macedonia, do you know to whom you're talking? Makedonija. It's my bloodline there. Makedonija. One more day da te vidim samo da si se izgubila kao kokoška iščupana. Makedonija, kokoško centralna. Makedonija, centralna kokoško. Zatvori usta. Centralna kokoško, zatvori usta. Julia Roberts. Shut up. You're making a movie. And I'm the real character. Julia Roberts, sweetie, you're getting lost a bit. You're playing me. I'm original. I really don't know how that magically works in America. In America, obviously, there is different kind of magic. No, Julia Roberts become Erin Brockovich. Well, because she made a movie. Julia Roberts, shut up. Shut up. Do you know to whom actually you're talking? Macedonia? Belgrade? Julia Roberts? Do you know, darling, to whom actually you are talking? Now take some time and think about it. Then you open your mind, your mouth, and eventually say something. For God's sake, first think about it. Just think about it first. I'm not for sale to Hollywood. And to Judas of Hollywood, never ever forget that again.